We're honored to have today Bhakta, who is a teacher of Diamond Logos for the past 15 years. He teaches in Europe and also online. And he's been a sannyasi of Osho for some decades and has lived in the Osho ashram for
12 years.
12 years.
About
12 years.
A bit less, but yeah.
In different Osho ashrams while Osho was still around. Today, we'll kind of explore a little bit of what was it like to live in the Osho ashram and in what way it influenced your life. So welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's difficult to know where to start, but probably to start at the beginning is the best.
Yeah.
So, I'm a child of the 50s, 60s, 70s. So there was a big movement at the time. And in the 60s, there was, Woodstock, there was May 68, there was all kind of a revolution, I would say, and really putting in question the family. And there was also the beginning of a kind of spirituality and also some psychotherapy in form of group therapy, I would say. Anyway, I was not so much interested into spirituality, I have to say. I was not. I was more into politics and commune because it was a time of commune. But I was with my girlfriend at the time. She was more connected to spirituality. She was connected with Sri Chinmoy. I don't know if you heard about it. But she came to me one day and she said, look, I heard about the meditation, which is quite good, it seems to me. When I heard the word meditation, I was like, oh, no, this is not for me, I was very nervous, full of energy. And for me, sitting an hour, it was like mission impossible, So I said, well, let's try, why not? So we went to do this meditation. It was the dynamic meditation. Mm-hmm. And I really liked it because the first part is very, it's breathing, then catharsis, then jumping, then silence, and then dancing, which I love dancing. And I said, oh, this is really, I like it, Mm-hmm. If this is meditation, then I'm on, Yeah. And I went to the guy, Krishna, who was leading the meditation. And I say to him, where does it come from? What is it, this meditation? And he said, well, this is a guy it's a master in India. It's called Bhagwan Shri Rajneesh, which was the name of Osho at the time. And he showed me a picture of him. And the moment I saw the picture, something happened in me, and I decided I need to go and check this guy. I need to check him out. He was very strong and very sudden. And I went to my girlfriend and I said, look, let's work, make money, and we go to India. And then we go to Bali. That was the plan. And so we went there. We came to Pune. This was in June 1976. And Osho was in Pune at the time. He was there since a year, a little bit more than a year. There was a lot of Indian sannyasin at the time, and not so much Westerner, maybe a couple hundred of Westerner.
And how many Indians were at the time? Like it was a few thousands of people?
Oh, yes, afterwards. This was really the beginning. I came at the beginning of a big wave coming from the West, of Westerner sannyasi. Anyway, so we arrived there, and we come to this ashram, which was a couple houses that one of the sannyasis bought in the suburb of Pune. Beautiful suburb of Pune. We arrived there, and it was a bit crazy because everybody was in orange with this mala and everybody long hair. And you know, you arrive and say, this is a madhouse, you know, what is this? But the interesting thing was the feeling when I arrived there, it's like, it seemed I knew everybody.
You felt familiar?
Huh?
You felt home?
Yeah, well, I didn't feel at home. I feel that I know this guy, I know this one, I know this. And it was impossible because some people were American, Canadian, I've never been there. So how can I know them? But there was a feeling and it lasted a couple of days, you know. So this was an arrival, but also the place was crazy, you know, was really crazy. And then I asked for, I wanted to see, but they didn't even ask me. They say, okay, you meet Osho tomorrow. Okay, fine. And he was like, okay, asking for the initiation somehow, you know. And then I arrive in front of Osho.
And what was the scene? So there's like, there's Osho in the front, there's many people, and one by one people people who wish for initiation, they come forward.
At the time, it was a bit different because it was a small group of people. We were like maybe a dozen, no more. And Osho was giving darshan on the porch of his house. And so, we were maybe a dozen of people. And usually he gave initiation in darshan, and then also people departing. And then some people had a darshan just to ask questions. And that was it. It used to be an hour and a half. But basically it was initiation, departing sannyasin, and few sannyasin who, no, sorry, there was also a group. Each time that people were doing group, they could come and share the group. But this came later. I don't remember exactly the time frame, you know. At the time we were very little. So I came there in front of him, and I have to say, the energy of the field there, because it was something very moment which I always loved all the time. Everybody was in silence, waiting for him to come. And when he came, he always came like this. And the moment he came in the room, there was a moment, it's so difficult to explain, but there was such a silence, such grace, because he was very graceful. And I always adore this moment, you know. For me, it was this 1 minute when he comes and sit down, when he greet everybody, was really, wow, this is so, I don't know, it's difficult to explain because it's really, you feel touch in your soul, really. And for me, I was very ignorant, you know, of all this. So I was, what's going on? What's happening? You know, then my name got called and I went in front of him and he said, you know, close your eyes and let whatever happen in the body. And I started to shake, really shake.
He touched you or just
not yet? Not
okay.
yet.
So because you're just close in front of him.
Usually what he did, it's like, say, close your eyes, you sit in front of him, close your eyes. And then he used to write the name. And then he took the mala, put the mala on you, touch you, or here, or on the head, depends. I don't know why, but it was like, then he used to give the name, the paper with the name and say, this is your new name. And my name was, your name is Prema Bhakta. Prema means love, Bhakta means devotion.
Supreme love. Yeah, supreme love.
Yeah, supreme love. Prema is supreme love and devotion. When I was in front of him like this, it was like I was really shaking, really, you know. And I said, okay, he told me to let happen, so I let happen. And at that moment, he gave me the mala. He put the mala and he put his hand on the head. And I still have a picture. I can show you to you. Okay. And then at that very moment, everything's gone down and an immense joy arrived, really immense joy. And I remember saying to myself, oh, I feel exactly the same as I was a kid, when I was a kid. This joy is like I didn't feel it since I was a kid, you know. That was And of course, and then he gave my name, and he gave me groups to do, because he always give you some groups to do at the time.
Groups are like groups of practice, or
no, the groups were more therapeutic groups.
Therapeutic.
Yeah, and me, for instance, he gave me, if I remember, it was a kind of encounter, really chaotic, screaming, breathing group, and another group was Who I Am.
This with looking in the eyes?
Yeah, group, tell me who you are, you know, this and a bit on Raman Maharshi techniques, you know, so this was very powerful. I remember I was mad because I didn't speak English so well at the time. And the group leader, the facilitator, he forbid me to talk in French, you know, and he wanted me to say, and I didn't say, you know, I didn't know so many words, you know. So I got so angry, you know, so angry. Anyway, so the 3 days like this, and then another
3 days of joy.
Yeah, 3 days like this. Or the 3 days of joy, yeah, definitely. This joy, I remember I came out of this darshan and was like, you know, what's happening? I really fell in love with this man in that moment. And Bali was finished. Bali was cancelled.
Didn't arrive.
Bali was cancelled. So yeah.
And your girlfriend at the time, she also became sannyasi?
Yeah, she also became sannyasi. She also took the name and like that. But she couldn't come that night. She came the night after. And then after each group, you could go. All the group went in front of Osho, and then you could talk and say, how was it? You know, and Osho asked you, how was the group? And after this, that was the second darshan, and he'd say to me, how was the group, Bhakta? And I say, oh, I think it was good. I feel, but I don't know if I became better, if I became better. And he really jumped on me, you know, and he really hit me hard. And he really said, never think in terms of being better. This is the cancer of the human being. You know, that's the spiritual cancer or mental cancer. You know, we say the society has told you be better and you will be happy, and my teaching is be happy and you will be better. And he told me, if here in this place you can learn one thing, it's the art of enjoying life.
The art of?
The art of enjoying life, of finding joy in your life, then many doors will open for you. And on the moment, I really didn't understand, you know, what is it, you know? So I tell you frankly, it's only now. It's only recently that I understood what he meant.
It took a few decades.
Yeah, a few decades.
1976 and 2000.
Exactly. Few decades.
A few decades.
Really, it did. It did. Now I understand, I think, what he meant by it.
Yes. Sometimes it takes time to.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, and then you basically decided to move. You moved to India.
Yes,
you went a bit back and forth.
So no, we stayed there, and then at one point, so I did a few groups, and then Osho told me to work. This was also very surprising because sometimes he asked people. I did 3 groups only, and then he said, "No, now you work." And I work in the dark room, and then in the publishing, then doing books, you know, because I was a graphic designer, so I did. And then at one point, money ran out, you know, and also we had to finish with my girlfriend. We had a little flat in Geneva, so we had to finish all this, you know.
Yeah.
So we went back for a couple months. We got rid of our things, and then I came back. And I stayed there until going to Oregon, to America. Yes,
it must have been quite. So basically, you left all your financial security, everything.
Yes.
It's quite a leap.
It was, yeah.
Especially, you had no spiritual background before that one meditation, right?
Yes. Yeah, but it was.
How was it?
It was easy.
It was easy.
Easy because I was in love with him. I was in love with this ashram. I was in love with the people who were part of this ashram. They were beautiful people, you know. And there was meditation every day. There was work. When you work the whole day. But there was the discourse in the morning.
Yes, let's look at a day. Maybe you can just specify. Okay. So a day in Pune in the first period. Yes, this is the first Pune, right? We have Pune, Oregon, Pune.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
So the first Pune, what did the day look like?
The day usually used to start 6 o'clock in the morning with dynamic meditation. Now, this was especially for people who were doing the groups. Like for workers, we were not obliged to do it. I do it sometimes when I had difficulty with my girlfriends, for instance. So it was good to go and scream a bit. And then we had the discourse at 8 o'clock. And with Osho, and usually it used to last an hour and a half, 2 hours. This was meditation, really, because I remember, especially in the beginning, he was doing 1 month in Hindi, 1 month in English discourse. And I used to love to go to the Hindi discourse.
You would just feel?
I didn't understand the word, but just the sound, and then I could really bring me a bit in a meditation, you know, state.
How long would be a discourse?
An hour and a half at the back. That depends. If it was hot, it could last 2 hours. Sometimes, usually an hour and a half.
And it was like a series of lectures that you would touch? Normally it would be like a topic after a topic.
Exactly. And this is, I feel, the beauty of Osho. He had such an incredible vision on, maybe you have read some of the books. He could speak on Sufism, he could speak on Kabir, he could speak on Buddhism, on Buddha, he could speak on Zen Master, he could speak on Jesus because he spoke on Jesus. And you felt, wow, this is it, this is Jesus, you know. He could get the spirit of all these masters, you know. On Atisha, he spoke on Atisha, he spoke on Kabir. I don't know if you heard of Kabir, which is a beautiful master. He used to, really, you feel, wow, this is it, you know. So that was his talent. But he always say, Osho always say that, you know, I talk, it's to put you in meditation. It's really sad. You know, sometimes don't listen to my words, listen into between my words, the silence between my words. Anyway, so this was it. And then, you know, like if you were working after discourse, you take breakfast, and then we work until 1 o'clock. And then for other people, the groups were starting. See, people who were doing the groups were starting, unless they were doing groups like Who Is In or Vipassana. There they were all day, they started the whole morning. They came out for discourse, but they went straight away. They were in silence, you know, the usual. And work, so we're working, and then afternoon, all day long they were meditation in the Buddha Hall, we call it, the Buddha Hall. So they were 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock, then at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 o'clock, there was another meditation. And then for people who were not working, basically, people who were just visiting the ashram. And then at 7 o'clock, there was the evening darshan.
And that was not a discourse? It was more informal, or was it?
It was not a discourse. Again, what like I say to you, initiation, so welcoming people. And then some people who wanted to take, you know, some people had relationship problems and things like this. He would, you know, talk to them and so on.
I understand. So 1976, you came with a little jump in Geneva. And then when did Oregon start?
Oregon started, I think, in 1980.
1980. So 4 years in Pune. And then a whole bunch is going to Oregon?
No, not at all. No, actually, in the beginning, we were only a little group. And I'll tell you a little bit of story because it's a nice story. Osho actually wanted to go, Osho wanted to stay in India. He didn't want to go to America. And one of the Indian Sannyas found a place in Kutch, which is northwest or India, close to the Pakistanese border. It's in a desert, very beautiful desert. And there was this palace in this desert. And we could have Osho wanted to be there with his palace, and then, of course, build an ashram there because he was a bit out of
out of the city life.
Out of the city, more place. And then you know how Osho was. Maybe you don't know, but he was very controversial.
Yeah.
He was always attacking politicians, especially Indian politicians. You know.
So it was tense. You could feel there were newspaper articles.
Oh yes.
And there were people also protesting. Would you go to like a cafe with a sannyasi and people would say bad things, or how did you feel?
There was a lot. I mean, women were attacked sexually by, grabbed or
I understand.
Things like this by Indians.
Because they looked down at them.
They looked down.
Because there were articles.
We had this reputation to be the sex guru.
Yeah.
This came from, really, I want to mention that this came from the Indian press, because Osho in the early 70s wrote a book which is called Sex to Superconsciousness. And this may be interesting for you because it was a lot about how to use the sexual energy into Tantra, into meditation. When he came out with this book, it made a scandal in India. And then he was labeled a sex guru. He was labeled that. But actually people didn't understood because the book was nothing about sex. It was more about sexual energy into higher consciousness.
Yes.
And so we got this reputation. And of course, it's true. We were a lot of Westerner. We were in a sexual liberation in Europe as the time.
Yes, the 60s, 70s.
Everybody was. And of course, we were free. And Osho always gave us the freedom to say, I don't like brahmacharya. I'm not for brahmacharya. You do your things and it's fine. So yes, there was sexual activities. People were, but there were couples. There were some people who were not couples. I mean, it was not more than in a society.
Yeah,
but then
but in the newspapers, it got this image.
Then he got this label, sex guru, but not really. There was
not really.
Not really. So yes, we had trouble when we were in the street in India.
So particularly the women, if they would go with sannyasi robe.
Woman. Us, of course. It was okay. It was okay. It was not so bad.
And the authorities would also harass you, or just
harassing? Yes, harassing, but harassing more. Yeah, harassing the people, for the visa.
For the visa, you were labeled as that.
Labeled, But in India,
you can solve
everything is resolved.
Yeah.
You know how. So we always managed to stay even without visa. This was the way. Yeah.
Okay, so he didn't want to leave. I'm just returning to you because we were in the middle of that stuff.
We go.
So he didn't want to leave. There was another ashram in the desert next to Pakistan. And then how did he end up in Oregon?
This failed because political, one of the excuse was it's too close to the Pakistan border and it's military zone, so you cannot go. And then at that time, he had this secretary, Indian secretary, which was named Sheela.
Yes, there was this, I didn't see it, but people were mentioning from this wild country.
Yeah, Sheela, exactly. Yeah, that's probably. And Sheela, she was partly educated in the States, and she liked the United States. And somehow she persuaded him to go there, to go to America. He was not very hot, but he had this way that sometimes he used to surrender. Okay, you want to bring me there? Let's go there. And so after multiple things, we decided, he decided to go to America. Everybody goes to America. But of course, it was not possible because
visas,
and also the place that Sheela bought had nothing. It was just a little farm, and nothing on it. It was, I don't know, maybe in Oregon, in central Oregon, it's very desertic. There is not much there, And anyway, so only a few people were going there. First, Americans, because it was easier. And then a few other people could go there. And I was lucky enough to be chosen to go and to arrive there in the very beginning, very big. And there was nothing. We were sleeping under tents. I even arrived 1 week before Osho arrived, because first Osho was in New York or New Jersey. He stayed there for 1 month, and then a bit less, I think. And then he flew to Oregon. And we built a house for him. That was the first thing, to build this kind of house. And then we were living under tents, you know, and it was, I remember, it was in September, I think we were there, yeah. And in the desert in Oregon, it gets really cold, you know, and we were under these tents. And, you know, my beard was freezing in the morning. It was so hot. And I was not doing books at the time. I was, you know, I was actually, I was building houses and building, first thing was to build a kind of big house where we could have the kitchens and eat, like, not, how you say that,
Dining.
Huh?
Like a dining?
A canteen, you know, you know, so we could eat and sort of things. And then we arrived in the winter, you know, and it was really cold. And I remember we used to eat outside, and the salad used to get frozen in 1 minute. Yeah, my God. And this was also very cute. I always say this. I was so fed up. And we were very little, you know, I was so fed up. And I say, okay, this is too much for me, you know, I leave. If in 1 week nothing changed, I go. I cannot stand anymore. Well, this was, you know, a freak out. And I swear to you, the next day, Sheela calls me and he said, oh, there is a gift from Bhagwan for you. And she gave me, and it was a thermolactyl underwear. I thought it was, you know, it was so cute, you know. I don't know how he got it, you know, but. And I wear this, of course, day and night for 6 months. But that was very nice. So, and then the word was to prepare the ranch for people to come. And so we organized a big festival in the summer for all the sannyasin who didn't see Osho for almost a year. And so this is what we did. We organized this immense festival. And then everybody from all the world came. And then slowly grow up. I didn't see this documentary from next week.
I also did. I just heard it.
Yeah, I also heard it. I think it was quite okay. But they basically talk about only the fight. You know, the end and the fight with Sheela and the government and okay, this was true, was a reality. But I think what people don't realize is we built up a commune there. And this was the dream of many people, you know, to
live together.
Yeah. And we built up something extraordinary, you know, with road, with a dam, with agriculture, and it was already ecological. And we had the sewage system, which was totally, we even got a prize from the city of Los Angeles for having this system of sewage, you know, which was, you could recuperate the water and use it in, you know, it was all these things, houses we built. There was a whole town, you know. I mean, when I was there, I thought, this is it. I'm going to stay there all my life, you know. And this, I think, this was not shown in the documentary.
But it's less scandalous. And
it's less scandalous.
So,
exactly.
No, but these documentaries, they are meant for people in the mainstream, so that they are somehow scared of everything that's not mainstream. And they just show a very small fragment.
And it's true. It was a beautiful adventure, really a beautiful.
And how many years was Oregon?
This was 5 years,
and
almost 6 years.
And then the schedule was similar with Pune, like as the daily schedule, or was a lot more work?
It was more, quite different, because the 3 first year, Osho was not coming out. He was staying in his house, and he used to come only driving his Rolls Royce, you know, coming out, and we used to greet him. This was always after lunch, and he used to go and drive. And that was the only moment we saw him.
Okay, so there was not this twice a day darshan and
No,
lecture.
that was totally finished.
Okay.
There was work, work, work. And then people who came to visit, there was a department or with groups, with
working groups and
working
meditation.
groups. There was a therapist, facilitator who were giving groups and blah, blah, blah. So there was the thing. But for me, like a worker, I was working. We saw him only, there was 4 festivals a year. The day of his enlightenment, how we call it, Buddha, the Buddha moon,
in May.
in July.
No, Guru Purnima.
Guru Purnima, exactly, Guru Purnima. Then there was one meeting for the 8th of September. That was the anniversary of the death of his father. And then on the December, that was his birthday, 11th of December. So there was 4 times he used to come out, didn't speak, but there was music, there was dance, and there was...
Okay, so there was no more lectures and nothing.
No more lectures.
That was anymore.
Finished. After 3 years, he started again in a little room in his house to give some lecture. And I was also privileged to be invited, not all the time, but sometimes. And there he was like giving a discourse again. But that was in his house, and we were like maybe 20, 30 people, maybe like this. And then these discourses were given to the rest of the ashram in the Buddha hall on the screen, you know.
I understand.
No,
I understand. So he was more discreet and reserved, and then so there was, you said 5 years in all?
Yeah, 5, a little bit more.
And then a little bit more, and then there was some conflict. I'm not really aware of the details. There was some conflict with the authorities. He was arrested or something?
Yes, also, yeah. That's a little bit after. If you want, I go chronologically. More or less, because I don't remember. You know, basically, you put a bunch of guys like us, sannyas, in red, mala, in a redneck area of America. Really, Oregon was really redneck. No, they were all driving with the gun into their truck, you know. And you bring a bunch of people like us in there. Of course, there is a clash, you know. And people, they started to fire at us, and then, but American, you know, it's like they didn't.
Not in order to hit, they fire above your head.
Yes, exactly. But it was hurt, but you know, to scare us, you know, to things like this. And so there was a controversy from the very beginning, you know, and of course, you know how it is, politicians always take the precedent of that. And I have to say also, Sheela was a very good person in the beginning of the Raj, because she was very strong, very fiery. She had a lot of energy, and she was probably the perfect person to gather people.
So she was like the administrator.
Yeah, she was the administrator. Yeah. But you know how it is, people go into power trip. You know, it went up to the head, and she started to be in a power trip, really, you know, and then starting doing things, and you know, and because Osho was in silence, he didn't intervene, you know. So she used to go and see him, you know, almost every day, and tell him here this and that. And she was very antagonistic, you know. She was like, oh. So she used to go to these politicians or like this and yell at them and say, you are nothing, you know, just this. And you know, people don't like this, you know. And so it got
very tense.
It started gas. And then also, I think at the end, so there was a whole movement against it. And then Reagan went to power, came to power, I think in 85 or something. And they were very Christians. And Osho used to criticize Christianity, you know, and sometimes even he loved Jesus, but he used to criticize
the institution.
And this really, one of the minister, I think it was Edward Meese, he was the Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense of Reagan, was a neo-Christian, born-again Christian. And I think in one of the lecture, Osho was really going to about, how bad these people are. I mean, this is nothing to do with Christ, And he didn't like it, And my feeling, the government decided we're going to get rid of this guy, And then Sheela also left. This is probably in the documentary. It's all written, And there was the National Guard around us, ready to interfere and to come. And when the National Guard in America comes,
they're not joking.
They're not joking, and they kill, basically, And I really feel in my heart that Osho saved us because he really went off. He started to blow the whole thing and say, look, that's it. He invited the FBI to come, invited the police to come, check, and so the cake.
Okay,
it took
out the air.
Took
the pressure out,
but not on him, and because he came in America with a visa for his health, which was true. He was already in poor health when he came to America. But then the visa was finished.
So they had a case.
Yeah, and then the lawyer was trying to get him a green card, but it was taking time and time. And then he was fed up, and he said, "Okay, I'm fed up. I go back to India." And as he was leaving, the immigration police, the ICE police, they arrested him.
How long was he in custody?
I think he was 1 month in jail.
1 month in jail.
1 month in jail.
And how did you feel at that time? How was it?
Oh, we were freaked out because.
And you were still in Oregon.
I was still in Oregon when
you were probably scared also.
Not really scared, but more. I have to say, the dream was finished. Suddenly, I mean, it was a good lesson because. Okay, I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life there, and suddenly everything is gone, Then all your dream, your expectation, is like you're naked, really, inside. He got expelled. Then the lawyer, blah, 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 paid a fine, and then he got
the he left. And he went back to Pune. Oh, he went to Greece for some.
To Greece, and then to Nepal. And then
India.
And then back to Pune. Yeah, I mean, he did a whole tour, actually, of different countries. And I went back to Geneva with nothing, really, with a few friends, Sannyas in France. It was very nice because we didn't have any money. And we were a group of, I don't know, a dozen of friends like this. We arrived there. And we were only 2 Swiss people. So we could, only us 2, we could
speak.
Yeah, no, speak and work And so we found a house in Geneva, and we lived in this commune, and we were the one who went working and bringing the food on the table. Yeah,
and then he went back to Pune after.
Not straight away, but yes, I went a few months later. I went back to Pune.
And then Pune 2, how was that?
That was Pune 2. That was the beginning of.
So Pune this is 1985, 86.
87.
87.
Yeah, 87. 86, he was in Nepal, I think. Beginning of 87. I think, I'm not sure about the dates, but it's about around that. Yeah.
So you had another 3 years then with Osho?
Yeah, I mean, not 3 years, because at the time, I remember being back in the world, working. I really felt I went back to Pune and I stayed there and I was involved with things, helping. Then I didn't feel right. And I felt really that I needed to go to the world and set up myself into the world, because I went there, I was 25, And I didn't really work, I was taking, and I really felt, and then I wrote to Osho, and Osho said, go, I will be with you with my blessing. And so I felt, okay, then he gave me.
Okay, so you were just a short period.
I was a short period, but I used to come
and go.
Come and go. And I went to Australia. because my wife was Australian, so I was there with her, and I set up a little graphic design business, which was quite successful. So it was nice.
Okay, so you had the freedom to come and you felt, okay, I have this as well,
exactly.
a certain accomplishment.
Then I felt good, and then I maybe I stop here because there is a little story which I always loved, that Osho was quite sick. He stopped talking maybe 9 months before his death. He passed away. And I remember just before, it was before, like in November, my mother said, oh, by the end of December, I need to move. I move in a new house. And I know she would say, oh, if you could help me, it would be nice. And I was in Australia. And I said, okay, I come spend Christmas with you and my sister. And then, and she was very happy. And then I went there and I had a ticket from Sydney to Europe and back, And then I do the moving. I have my mother, and it was time to go. And one evening I was just meditating there, quiet in my room. And suddenly I had this feeling, I need to go to Pune. I want to stop in Pune, I want to see, I want to go there. It was very strong, And I went to the travel agency because at the time,
this is how you get tickets.
And the guy said, oh, it's going to be difficult to change your ticket. But, I try, but I don't guarantee you. I say, look, if you manage, great. If you don't, it's okay. And 2 days later, 3 days later, say, yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's good. I managed. Good. And I said, oh, fantastic. And then I arrived there in Pune. And the first night I was there, Osho went out, greet us. And then 2 days later, he left the body. And I was there when he left the body. And it was such a incredible energy that night, when we went to the Ghat, where you burn the body, and that was it.
And how did you feel?
I felt, it was funny because the next day in the ashram, there was a little bit of sadness, but there was a lot of love, and it was a sweet sadness. Everybody felt that, lot of love. And very quiet in the ashram. And for me, I remember also feeling that, okay, this is finished. No kindergarten anymore. Now you have to do the path on your own, So that was it.
And what do you feel like? What are the tools or realizations or gifts that you received from those years in the ashrams and from the teaching? What did it do inside of you?
Yeah, I think it changed my life, It really changed totally my life. Like I said, maybe to you one day on the spiritual, on my spirit, on my soul, he opened the window and showed me the sky. He said, okay, this is yours. You can fly there. And, we are there. Nobody dares, But with his help, with his guidance, I went in the sky. I fly in the sky, and I'm so grateful for that to him. I would be eternally grateful to him, really, to my master. Yeah, something really, he changed my life, and he changed so many people's life,
Yes.
So.
Yes, and today, do you still have many of your close friends are sannyasis, and you still keep that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have my group of friends and who were there also. And also the interesting thing, that some people I haven't seen for 10, 15 years, and suddenly by accident we meet. And it's like
the old
was yesterday, There is a link between all of us who have lived this period of our world, with Osho. Yeah.
And maybe just to conclude, if you want to say a few words of the Diamond Logos and of the work that you do now. So.
Yeah. After Osho left the body for a few years, I meditate,
And from the meditations, which ones are you doing?
I used to sit, simply sitting, you know, and yeah, and I used to do some groups also. I used to do some, I did a lot of vipassana also at the time. I used to go to Pune often. I used to do a meditation which is called Mystic Rose, or the gibberish.
1 week crying, 1 week. This week crying,
Mystic Rose is
silence?
1 week laughing, 1 week crying, and 1 week sitting. Which is a very powerful meditation. And I used to do that, and then I used to work. You know, I used to work, get my money, and but something was missing. You know, at one point I used to be the assistant of a group leader and assisting her, and she was a sannyasin also. I knew her for a long time, and she met this person, Faisal Muqaddam, in America. And she came back and she said, "Oh, I met this guy. He's really fantastic." Blah, 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 blah. And she said, "You know, he's coming to Europe. I invite him to Europe." So she wanted to gather as much people as possible. So I went, you know. And so this is how I met Faisal. And this Diamond Logos teaching, which is also who Faisal is the originator with Almas, which is the founder of the Diamond approach. They discovered this together, but then somehow they split because they were teaching this Diamond in a different way, and so they split. And I went with the lineage of Faisal, more of that, and in the beginning, I was a bit. Because I was still very much Osho, you know, in a way, you know. So I was a bit like, but yes, I did. I started to do it, and I saw how interesting it was. He started to show me what happened in the sky. He gave me the map of the sky, you know, and because basically this. Diamond Logos is about, I think you spoke in one video, I saw a few, the 3 domain, we call it the 3 domain, which is the absolute, or I don't know, you call it absolute. Then you have the essential domain, which is about the soul. And then you have the worldly domain, which is the material world, you know. And so Faisal said that a lot of tradition, they go from the material world is also the ego, right? So a lot of go directly from the ego to the absolute, you know. And you say, and you miss in between, you know. And between there is a whole, which is the soul, which is the individual self. And this soul has many qualities, you know, like trust, like love, like and this soul has been, let's say, each child comes to this world with a soul, with a full soul. And after a while, through conditioning, through parents, through belief, through judgment, concept, this soul starts to get destroyed in a way, or not destroyed because it's still there, but it gets
concealed,
clogged.
Clogged,
you know, it's like it's get, and then around age, 7, 8, 9 years old, you disconnected from this soul, you know, and you stay only with the ego, basically, and the ego really trying to imitate the soul or the quality of the soul, but it's not his job, you know. The ego is the servant of the soul, not the boss, you know? And so there is a whole technique, and he has a whole map, and each quality, each domain, we go and we look at what blocks this, you know, what are the blocks. So there is a bit of psychology also in it. And for me, it has been very helpful. It's a continuation of Osho.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Actually, Osho said that after my death, I will bring you to the right master or the right teacher. Beautiful. And this happened to many sannyasin.
They had to follow up with other teachers.
Some went with Buddhist teacher, some went with Zen teacher, some went, I went with the,
If you like this video and want to learn more about Tantra, about yoga, about psychology, emotional healing, lives of saints, and the scriptures,
then hit the bell, like, subscribe, and you'll never miss an upload. Thank you so much.